Good afternoon and welcome to a slightly different stream today. We're going to go through setting up the Fenix A320 from cold all the way to takeoff. The rest of the flight will be streamed en route to Glasgow. You're more than happy to tag along for the flight. I will be having to nip in and out because I've got my timings wrong and I forgot about Sunday dinner, so there we have it. No VATSIM today, only because I don't want it adding to the noise of describing things as I'm going through. So without further ado, let's start. Okay, so currently in Heathrow. Stand 523 at Terminal 5. And weather's looking, there's a bit of rain in the air, but other than that it should be a smooth flight. Okay, so first things you're going to want to do is you want to turn the battery packs on. So these two here. So battery 1 on and battery 2, and that supplies basically supplies electricity to the aircraft systems before the engine started. If you see that, let me just see if I can change view. No, this is going all wrong. Okay, still no power here. Okay, so you'll see it's green and says available. That's because we've got the GPU, the ground power unit, attached, and the reason why that's important is we want to turn that on because we don't want to drain the batteries, do we? You'll then see the screens doing their self-test. In the meantime, what we can do now, I will start the master switch for the APU, just get it on, ready. Another logo on, no smoking sign auto, and emergency sign exit armed. Crew supply of oxygen. So in emergency depressurization, the crew have oxygen. Get the ground recorder on. Evac to captain. Now ADARs 1, 2 and 3. All 3 to nav. And the reason why this is important is and you'll get differences in timings of how long it takes for the ADARs to align. It basically takes its position from its last known position. So if you fly from Heathrow to Manchester, the distance isn't that far, so it won't take as long for the inertial reference system to align. However, if you're flying from London to New York, that's a big difference. Hence why it can take anywhere up to between 10 and 15 minutes for them to align. Okay, so once they're done, we'll keep the fuel pumps off for the minute, but we'll remember to turn them on before we start engines. And I think that is it. We'll just put strobe onto auto, and we'll leave the rest. Seatbelt signs stay off until you finish refueling, which will start now. So in your EFB, your electronic flight bag, if you're in a Fenix, you'll click on the Fenix icon and you'll load. You'll notice that it says -6 minutes till departure. It's because when I first loaded in, I had issues with the MCDU, so I had to quit the sim and then restart the laptop. You'll go into mass and balances, you'll click on load aircraft, and you'll have choices here. So you've got GSX, boarding, refueling, GSX, boarding only, real time, fast time, instant, cancel. Okay. We'll just go with GSX, boarding, refueling.
Refueling truck is on its way.
And you should see things starting appearing. So you've got your pushback tug now appeared, etc. Okay, what you want to do then is you want to go into your MCDU. You'll notice that there's a company message here. So into ATSU, AOC menu, receive messages, and this will be your load sheet. For your load sheet, you need to take a note of your zero fuel weight, which in this case is 57.7. You'll scroll any further, sorry, there you go. You'll also need to take a note of your Mach 0 fuel weight of 31.1 and your Mach takeoff weight 29.8. Accept that, return.
Fuel truck is in position.
Then we go to init request, and that will pull down the flight plan from SimBrief. In another stream, I'll go through setting up the flight plan in its entirety. Okay, but it's just easier to import. You still need to add on your SIDs and your stars. It's just the waypoints in between. Flight. So we are Shuttle 6 Charlie. Easy for you to say. Today. And that. And everything you need is in your EFB. So you click on that little arrow. This pilot's hat will bring your operational flight plan, and you've got pretty much everything you need. Split into different sections. So you've got summary and fuel, flight log for when we're in the air, and you can monitor the predicted fuel on board and then verify it against actual airport data. So
Welcome on board.
weather, wind information, basically your flight plan there, runway analysis, airport weather, so you can get your weather, your destination, your alternate, and where you're departing from. So temperature is 15 and QNH 1006. So your QNH is there, Q1004, sorry, not 06, and we can put that in there. Okay, so if we go back to the summary, so you'll notice that we need a cost index. So the cost index is there, CI, which is 5. So we'll then enter that into the MCDU. We'll then IRS initiates, so we need to align our reference, confirm. That's IRS is confirmed.
Welcome on board.
Again, we need to, the aircraft needs to know where it is. We'll also get wind, so wind requests. This will give you winds at various stages of your flight.
Hello.
They are current, so by the time you get to that, for example, climb.
Hello.
And then it's got descent.
Hello.
So we click that, return that. Ground temperature was, what did I say? The temp was 15. Okay, so that's fine. Tropo there, 30012. So we'll change that. Tropo is the layer where actually it becomes, the temperature starts increasing slightly or decreasing from what it was below that layer, I think. And then lastly is cruise level 380 minus 48. And that's your init alpha done.
Hello.
Yeah, and you need your IRS as well, otherwise you won't get LNAV guidance if that's the approach you're flying. Okay, next thing on the list we've done init, it's a flight plan. So you notice there that most of the waypoints are already in, bar your SID and your star. So we'll click on EGLL. Departure is from 27 left. And you'll notice as well your routes. So you've got runway taken off at cruise level, and this here is your departure, your SID. So Olmat 1 Golf. So we just need to find that in here. There it is, Olma 1 Golf. Insert that. Nav accuracy, that means the ADARs are aligned. And similarly, when we get to destination, so EGPF, click on that. Arrival, ILS 23. 23 there, and it's the Ribble 1 Golf. So again, we'll scroll down, Ribble 1 Golf, there it is, insert. What we can do now that ADARs and IRSs are aligned, we've got the route on the nav display. We can go up here and we can click plan, and we can click on the dial next to it, and we can go up to 20 nautical miles. So now you'll see the flight plan is in. And to scroll up, you just hit to scroll down, you hit the up button for some reason, and you'll see that flight plan is in. What we're checking is for any discontinuities or any waypoints that it shouldn't be in there, and we're also checking it against the operational flight plan. So this should take us all the way up to Lanark, and then we've got a discontinuity. That's fine because we'll vector ourselves in to center fix 23. What I do sometimes is and I'll do it now, is I add a waypoint called steerer. We'll just up here, just gives me a bit more time to get my altitude sorted and my speed before coming left to intercept the ILS. So I'll show you how to do that now. So the waypoint I want is after Lanark. So what we do is we click on Lanark. You'll see next waypoint. So we just put the waypoint we want in. So in this instance it's steerer, next waypoint, and there it is. And then just go to insert. And if we go back, you'll see now that it's added there. Okay. I shouldn't need to get all the way to steerer before turning left because that's quite a way. That's up near Stirling. If you imagine that Glasgow Airport's here, you've got the Campsies kind of out here. Edinburgh's here, that's still quite far away out, but it just gives me a nav waypoint to aim for. So once we can confirm that, we can go back to arc and back to 10, just while we for the departure. Okay, I'm just going to show you something as well, which I find quite useful. Let me get rid of the table. It's called SimSmart. And this is from the guy, the EasyJet Sim Pilot guy. Okay, really useful. So we're going to put in airport code, which is EGLL. Okay, takeoff is runway 27. We get the METAR 23011, 15 knots, 1004. It is dry, anti-ice not required. In fact, 2 sets, because we need to do a couple of other steps first. After flight plan, we need to go back to init, and we need to go to init Bravo, which is this one. We're going to work out our fuels, okay? So if you have a look on your operational flight plan, you'll have your bulk, your total there, 4.93. So we can put that in the block for, let's say it was 4.9. Yeah, 4.9. So 4.9 tons to the block. And remember I said about those weights that are on the load sheet. There's them, 0 fuel weight and 0 fuel CG. Okay, so 0 fuel weight was 57.7. So we type that in. 57.7 / and it's 31.1 for the 0 fuel weight CG. Enter that, and then the aircraft will do all the rest for you. See where it's worked out its takeoff weight, landing weight. It's given us just under a ton extra fuel, which is about 19 minutes. Okay, if we need to do a go around at Glasgow, or we need to hold, you can see that there. Alternate, again, we've got just under 9, just under a ton of fuel weight. That's to get us to Edinburgh. And yeah, so that's all done. So we need to take a note of that takeoff weight, 62.4. So what we can do then is we can go to our performance calculator for takeoff. Now there is a performance calculator in SimBrief as well if you prefer to use that. I just prefer to use this and another thing which I'm going to show you. So takeoff weight was 62.4. And Mach tau, that's the third number that we wrote down from the load sheet. That's 29.8. And that all ties in. So we calculate that, and that gives us our V1, VR, V2 speeds. Okay, so into here, click on the performance tab, and you'll see V1, VR, V2. So what we've got, 148, 148, 149. 148, 148, 148, wrong button, 149. Okay, generally on a dry runway, your V1 and your VR are the same speed. If it's wet, they are different. Everyone happy with the V1? Okay, so it's basically your first decision point. If anything goes wrong with the aircraft, generally speaking, I know there's nuances which I won't get into today, but generally you get any defect or any warnings before V1, so that's before your decision point. Okay, you bought. After that, you've not got enough safe space to come to a stop and assess situation. VR is your rotate speed. Okay, so that's when you start rotating on the side stick. And V2 is when you should be climbing. Okay, and that's your safe speed, that if anything happens you get an engine out. 149 knots, you should be able to continue that climb, get settled, and then sort out the issue. Okay, so that's what they're for. And that is loading finished. So we'll just continue quickly. So this here, which I'm going to put on the screen, okay, this is a performance calculator for where's it gone? Which it gives basically this here, this engine out procedure, which I've not found anywhere else, and I can never see it on the charts. So you see it there. So at 1600 feet, we're going to turn left at OC, the VOR, and we're going to hold. Okay, inbound 328, right turn legs. So I'll just put that away for the minute. I do need to finish off here. 1 down 03. And flex to temp was 70. Oh, it's just Discord. Apologies, I'm trying to do everything on a phone. Okay, so yeah, we've got to talk about that. Next thing we want to do is secondary flight plan. Okay, we want to copy the active, and you remember at 1600 feet. So basically, we're going to go after that, intercept, and we're going to go to OC. So we just put that in. Next waypoint, you see it's there now. Click on OC, hold, and it was 328 inbound legs, inbound course, right turn, return. We're then going to enter a new destination, which will be back to Heathrow. Click that in the new destination, arrival, and it will be 27 left, no star. So we have a look up here now, and I'll go to plan, and you'll see. So this is our actual flight plan. Okay, we're going to head along 27 left, climb, head out to the northwest, and then north. If we have an engine out procedure at 1600 foot, we're going to climb, we're going to turn left to OC, to this VOR, and then we're just going to be in a holding point. We'll sort ourselves out, okay, and then we will make our way down to centre fix 27 right to land again, if it needs to be. Okay, so that's what the engine out procedure looks like, and why we do it. So back to plan. We go back to the actual flight plan, and there we go. Okay, so we are pretty much set up. So we finished refueling, so seatbelt signs can come on, and fuel pumps can come on. And what we can do now, we can do the cockpit preparation checklist. So gear pins and covers are removed. Fuel quantity is 4,920 kilograms, or 4.9 tons. Seatbelt signs are on, ADARs are nav and green. Bow reference is set on both 1004. That's a cockpit preparation checklist complete. Before we start anything, let's get the weather, even though it doesn't work, and the predictive wind shear on, and start transmitting. Beacon lights can come on now. Okay, that basically is signalling to everyone that the aircraft is alive and shortly moving. We then want to start the APU because shortly we're going to be disconnecting from the ground power unit. And the APU basically provides the air and the power to the aircraft systems until the engines are spooled up and available and ready to take on that responsibility. What I have forgot to do though is bring up the charts. Okay, so this is the departure chart and it's basically 6,000. So what we can do then is we'll just put that into RFCU. That's set there. Okay, so that's APU available. So APU bleed is on and we can get rid of external power. And we can prepare for pushback and departure. Back onto the Fenix menu, ground services. We can get rid of the GPU because we don't need it. The APU is taking the strain on that one. And parking brakes are set so we can get rid of the chocks and cones.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
And we'll bring the airport chart up. So currently at gate 523. We'll probably taxi out to Alpha along Bravo all the way to potentially November Bravo 3 or November Bravo 2 Whiskey.
Bypass pin inserted.
Okay, before start checklist, so parking brake is set. Takeoff speeds and thrusts are there, 148, 148, 149 with flex to temp as 70 degrees. Pitch and trim is 30, it's again 29.8% and rudder trim is neutral. Before start checklist complete. So you'll notice a load of things on the in your console. Parking brake is on. Nose wheel. That's because you're getting lifted up. Oh, it started raining, look, from the tug. TCAS is on standby, don't do that yet. Company message, that will be the confirmed load sheet and APU bleed. Okay, just to let you know that APU bleed is on. Nose to the right. Thank you very much.
Release parking brakes, please.
Okay, parking brake released.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Okay, so let's get down here. And engine mode to ignition and start engine number 2. Okay, this is a start engine number 2 first is typically started for redundancy reasons and it's an Airbus SOP. However, I am aware that on EasyJet they start number 1 first and then start number 2. Okay, yeah, so company message, let's quickly get that in. So MCDU menu, ATSU, AOC menu, receive messages, load sheet. Okay, 0 fuel 8, 57.7, yeah, that ties in. 0 fuel 8, 31.1 and 29.8, so that's all good and excellent. Okay, I'm happy that engine number 2 has started.
Please set parking brakes.
So I start engine number 1 and set parking brakes.
Unlocking gear.
Oofed. rid of that. Okay, I see that's now gone amber, and that is all fine. Actually, flight plan is usually on the pilot monitoring, and performance is usually on the pilot flying. But I prefer it the other way around, so we'll do that. Flight plan for me and performance for the first officer. Okay, so that's the tow truck gone. So we can get taxi lights to taxi, runway turn off lights on, and that is it. Okay, so that's both engines available now. So both engines available to supply power. So we're going to turn the APU bleed off. Just notice there, have a good trip. So it means we're good to go, and we can turn the master switch off. You'll notice that it's still available for a wee while, but ultimately now the engines are providing the power to the aircraft, and then we will go to engine mode normal. Okay, after start checklist, anti-ice not required. ECAM status checked, SEAT, parker brake, TCAS and AP available. Pitch and trim 31%, so again 29.8%, rudder trim is neutral. My bad, the before start checklist should have checked the windows were closed, they were, and that the beacon light was on, and it was. Okay, so now we need to do some other stuff. Now this thing, the thing I'm about to do now, you can do en route. I prefer to do it static. Just saves a lot of weaving about. So if you notice this bottom panel here, when I remove the rudder, okay, so it's changed the screen automatically to flight control. So left rudder, neutral, right rudder, neutral, left aileron, neutral, right aileron, neutral, fully down, neutral, fully up, neutral. Okay, that's the flight control checked complete, and you do that on both side sticks. We also need to configure ourselves for taking off. So auto brake to max, that's because in case we need to do an aborted takeoff, we want the full amount of brakes available. We need spoilers to armed again for rejected takeoff or an aborted landing. With the trim balances pitch on takeoff. And the last thing we need to do is we need to set flaps to 1F, which is our takeoff configuration. We can then do takeoff configuration, that's fine. And then we just wait on the cabin. Okay. So at this point we'll get our taxi clearance and check left, check right, all clear, park brake off. Let's go. Okay, at this point you could do the taxi checklist, however we're still waiting on the cabin, so there's not much point. The cabin will tell us when they're ready to, that the cabin's basically secure for takeoff. But taxi checklist mainly comprises of the flight control, which we've done and we've checked, flap settings, configuration 1F, which we've done, radar and predictive wind shear on an auto, which is on, engine mode select is normal, and then the last thing would be ECAM memo, takeoff no blue. However, we can't say that because it is blue. We're still waiting on the cabin. Okay, check right, clear. Check left, clear. Okay, and we don't want to go any faster really than 30 knots on the ground. He says. We're doing 20. Okay, and when you're turning, it's usually around about 10. These, you know what these are for? These white and they're basically viewing. So when you're actually in the cockpit, your eyes want to be kind of level with those two balls. So it's a way of just when you adjust in your chair, you've got a visual reference. Okay, there we go. So that's the cabin crew ready. Okay, so taxi checklist. Flight controls checked. Flap settings config 1F. Radar and predictive wind shear on in auto. Engine mode selected normal. And ECAM memo is now takeoff no blue. Taxi checklist complete. Oh, there's an A380. Just landed. So because we've not got VATSIM on, I use the fly-by-wire traffic injector. So it pulls data from I think flight radar, and it imposes it onto imports it into the game. Really, really good. If you're not using VATSIM or any other injector, I'd really recommend it. Get a host of liveries and aircraft as well. And generally stick to the timings as well. Another one there, another 380. Okay, what we can do now, we'll put TCAS TARA, packs 1 and 2 off. And we can do the lineup checklist. Okay, takeoff runway is runway 27 left. Taking off from, what did I say? I can't remember what I said now. November Bravo 2 Whiskey. So we need 2 pilots because I can't. Yeah, November Bravo 2 Whiskey. TCAS is TARA and packs 1 and 2 are off. The lineup checklist complete. The other thing we should have done, we probably should have started our stopwatch. Quite a strong wind. See, it's vertical, not even dropping. The windsock. Don't know if you can see that actually. Should be able to see it now. Okay, I need to concentrate. I think we're near enough here now. And then we need to pick a spot. Don't think it's this one, I think it's the next one. And if it isn't, well, we're here now. November Bravo 2 Whiskey, there we go. Okay, at this point we'll be holding and we'll be waiting for our clearance to enter the runway. Okay, so the approach visually looks clear and it doesn't look like there's anything on TCAS. So what we'll do now, excuse me, taxi lights, or landing lights, sorry, on. Nose lights to take off. We can get rid of runway turn off light and we can get the strobe on. Check the no white lights. Happy days. Let's go before we get run over. Okay, we'll just settle there for a static takeoff, and we will push the throttles forward. Okay, around about 50%, and they're steady. Release the parking brake. Okay, there we are. Flex 70, SRS, runway nav and auto thrust blue, so that's all good. Very strong wind today, 100 knots, check. Okay, V1 and rotate. Okay, positive rate of climb, gear up. Okay, now what we're doing, we're hand flying this, so you'll see crosshairs, flight director, and the little notch in the middle. We're trying to get that in the center of the crosshairs. Let's get packs 1 and 2 on. And you'll see level climb is flashing, so bring the throttles back to climb. Okay, so we've reached S speed as well, so flaps can come up. Ground spoilers can be disarmed. We can get rid of the takeoff light, but remember to keep your landing light on. Okay, let's just pitch the nose down a little bit. We're a little bit high, and autopilot can go on. And that is setting up the aircraft from cold to start and to take off. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to stop the recording there. The remainder of the flight will be streamed, and you can catch that on Twitch if you want. And if you enjoy this flight, enjoyed a little bit of learning, there'll be plenty more in the future. So for those that just wanted to be here for the setup, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.